Yeah. I'm actually okay. Yes. So if you look at that tree, so as I was saying, it's the Kabbalistic tree of life. I'm just going to repeat myself because I'm on this other two things going on. And Kabbalah with a K is traditional Hebrew Kabbalah. There's I've understand there's different theories about it, how far back this goes. Certainly, there's apparently in speaking of Morocco, back in like the 900s, 800s, and 900s. Um, um, in Fez, Morocco was uh, a obviously the start of the Arabic kind of takeover of things, and as before they went into Spain and stuff, is they Fez, Morocco was a very secular. It wasn't religious so much; it was more secular, and there was a big university there, and there was a large Hebrew Jewish population too, and so there was actually kind of a Kabbalistic and kind of rabbis and stuff is they figure that a lot of this work around Kabbalah started in Fez, Morocco, ironically, and so the Kabbalah with a K is this kind of religious Hebrew perspective on sort of the structure of the universe. So the idea here is it's like before we had such a thing as psychology, it was considered to be kind of theology. It was a study of sort of the study of the human mind started as a study of the unseen forces, sort of thing. And so what the Kabbalah tree of life is about is basically it's saying that this is the tree of life structure of sort of the unseen world, the mystical world, the spiritual world. And of course, interesting, you have that kind of that tree motif comes up in Celtic mythology, and of course the big tree thing in Nordic mythology as well, kind of is about this tree of life. So it's a similar kind of pattern, kind of story. And even in Buddhism, he's under the tree, the Bodhi tree, and has all this other meaning. So, and then what was just developed as the structure of the unseen realms is has a lot to then evolved to Kabbalah with a Q, starts in like kind of Prague and Romania, and you kind of in like the 1300s, 1200s, 1300s, as where these alchemists in like Prague or something decided to, well, we like this Kabbalah, but we're not Jewish, and but so they put the Q on it is sort of like a secular perspective on this structure, and so that's kind of the version that I've learned, and that is used in the Golden Dawn as well as a secular kind of perspective on this tree of life. And then Kabbalah with a K, no, with a Q, with a C. So K is Hebrew, Q is secular. Kabbalah with a C, Cabala, is how it's usually spelled, is sort of a Christian version of the Kabbalah. So what is kind of similar through all these is in the secular version, even if it's secular, you're still dealing with unseen forces, which are often, I think the word would be anthropomorphized, given a human face. Energies and intelligences that are seen to exist outside of human consciousness, have their own existence, are given anthropomorphized into different levels, like angels, archangels, and deities even. So in the Kabbalah with a Q, there's a secular version that these spheres are kind of the home of other deities that we can put on there's a way to kind of put Egyptian gods and goddesses on this map and where they reside. There's a way to put Celtic deities, Nordic deities, whatever pantheon, even Hindi pantheons, fit on this map.
Fascinating.
So that you would know, so that how that helps us then is it's very handy in any kind of course, what they say in the Golden Dawn is kind of high magic, quote unquote, and Kabbalistic ceremonial white magic is about just using these techniques to, it's called white magic because the intention, all important intention, is to raise the practitioner's awareness, to become a better, more spiritual person. That if it's white magic, if it's to become more spiritual or more aware, to help the individual grow spiritually. When you start using kind of these same techniques can be used for things like to get things we need, get things we want, or for, even if it's for healing, kind of for healing for someone else. This would be okay. Well, then it's sort of beginning to get a little gray, from white to gray. That we're putting our own purposes into our work, into our practice, that aren't necessarily altruistic or that's that clear. And then there's the thing about, even if well, how come healing isn't white? Well, you can do a spell to heal something or somebody of an illness or a condition, but who's to say that helps them spiritually? I mean, a lot of times an illness is a catharsis, is a way people change. Or somebody gets a little bit sick and they go, well, I'm going to better improve my diet, or I'm going to stop smoking, I'm going to stop drinking, I got to get healthy. So if you heal them, then maybe they don't change for the better. So you got to kind of, that's why it's considered to be, white magic is just providing spiritual growth for the practitioner. That's the discernment there. I'm not saying that that's what we should only do. I mean, because my background starts in ceremonial magic, but then goes to Wicca training and kind of witchy stuff too, where, well, of course I'm going to do a spell to get more money. Of course I'm going to do a spell to heal my friend or myself, but sorry?
Can also be part of the plan.
It's all, yes, part of the plan. We have a role to play, and if you got skills, use them. So, which brings me back to this, and if you have the so I guess what I'd like to try to do today is, well, I'm just going to pause this first of all. Pause. Because there's a few things that you had questioned. And number one, I think I might have missed this major point, is that in ceremonial magic and in simple Wicca, or kind of earth magic, even kind of somebody alone in their kitchen, this very traditional thing is, at least in the northern hemisphere, we always go clockwise. Always go clockwise in the circle or when you're in a kind of sacred space. Clockwise is the way to bring energy in, clockwise. So if I'm going from east to south to west to north, I'm going clockwise in the room. And if I want to banish energies, send them away, you go counterclockwise or deosil. So it's like, so that around 3 times is always clockwise. But that there's another thing I've sort of skipped over. And it's not in a more formal kind of Wiccan circle. Say I want to do a little spell, which we'll cover eventually. But do say something I want to charge a talisman, or say I got a crystal I really like, I'm going to charge this crystal with energy and wear it as protection. So there's a spell to do to charge the crystal with your own protection or protection energies. Or if candle magic is about, you kind of say I want to light a candle for love, or I want to light a candle, I'm going to burn this candle for financial opportunities or financial relief. And then you want to look into it, you want to get the right color candle, you want to have a gold candle or a green candle. And then part of the spell is putting appropriate oils, like peppermint might be a good one, or you look for spices or herbs that are associated with the purpose, the intention of the spell. So there's books to look into. I mean, you can even look online now these days for just things, which attributes, which with a T, which attributes for colors for wealth, or herbs for wealth, or, and then it'll give you a list of, oh, well, mint and this and that, or lavender are good for this, and this color is good for that.
And to hurry up things, cayenne pepper is good, right? Red pepper.
Yeah, that's a Mars energy. That's a Mars. It's associated with Mars, which is drive and getting stuff done. Yes. So, but you can look up, all this stuff is available like through Google. These what we would call attributions. What the attributions of herbs or the colors, and then when you create them, so then you would create that circle, and in that you're calling in the appropriate. Also, you would have names of, this is how we focus on, this is where we start to use the tree of life. Now I showed you the middle pillar, and the middle pillar exercise is obviously when you have this chart of the tree of life, you can see, well, oh, well, there's the middle pillar. That's what we're talking about. And there's moving the energies up and through the middle pillar, and oh, well, there it is. So, and it's about invigorating spiritual awareness somehow. So, but what we're learning then is each of these spheres has different attributes. And if I want, so the little one down, when I look at it on my right, that's the Venus one. So we got a Venus one. And so in the colored tree, that's going to be green. It has these different attributes, but it's maybe what we want for, well, if you want to do a spell for love or money, it has to do with Venus. Venus is the planet of attracting things to us. So now, which is, I guess, if I want to try to give you a little bit of homework, okay? And we go through the whole, there's that, I gave you one sheet, it's called the lightning flash. And it is basically, it is just this symbol. I think I have another example here. There it is.
Yes.
Of course, this is backwards because it's off the camera. But anyway, so the lightning flash, zoom, 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 and it goes through all the spheres on the tree of life from top to bottom. And the idea is that is how they were first created, in this flash of energy. And what we do is, the idea is that out of a lot of these drawings of the tree of life will have, I don't know if you can see that, but of course this is the Kabbalistic Tarot by Robert Wang, but some of these are nice kind of bigger pictures anyway. And a lot of times they show these lines on top, and that is called, there's three lines, the Ein Sof, and the Ein Sof which basically, I may be not perfectly correct here, but they basically that translates from the Hebrew as light, kind of light energized, and light energized in extension. So it basically means these things, this just very generalized spiritual concepts before creation. I mean, we can look at it, I mean, I don't believe in the Big Bang. I think it's more like the Hindu days, it's more like the in and out breath of Brahma. This expansion and drawing in is rather than just a boom. But anyway, but in that system, both in that idea, there's like pre-existence energies, and that's what this Ein Sof, and Ein Sof Or is about. It's about light energy, and then light kind of going through this little process before it begins its extension into matter. Spirit into matter, basically, is what this is about. So what we do is we get our little sheet, or a blank sheet, and so number 1 is the top, and then you go to the right in front of you to make number 2, and then you zigzag over to number 3. So what we have is, it's easier if you kind of look at if you have the mystical Kabbalah book, or it's, you can reference a book about this. But what we're going to see is it goes from 1 to 2 and then to 3 to make this triangle on top. This is called the supernal triangle, or the triangle of spirit. And what it is it's 1 is this pure energy called the crown, and that's when we were doing our meditations, that's the sphere on top, Kether, the crown. But it's also, when doing the meditation of the middle pillar, it's good to see this as energy, active energy, sort of, it's busy energy, sparkly or something. And then it comes out into number 2. And 2 is, now I'm not going to bother spelling this out now because it's all in, you'll find it in any of the books. But 2 is called Chokmah, or Chokmah, or I can't even say that guttural, Chokmah. Chokmah. Hard to say. But it's associated with wisdom, and it's associated with the masculine energy. So we have this pure white, and then the next 2 and 3 are sort of like the yin and yang, to kind of switch kind of hemispheres on the planet here. But it's very much associated with, and in the yin and the yang, it's also associated with the Wiccan, the witchy, what was initially, like in early Wicca in the 50s, would have been called the Lord and the Lady. So 2 is like the masculine energy, the yin, and 3 is the feminine energy, or the yang. But these are what's called the supernals. They are spiritual concepts. They are sort of way beyond material the material world. They're just sort of the concept of masculine and the concept of feminine. This concept of feminine is called Bina, and it's associated with the planet Saturn. From hence on, from 3 through 10 are all associated with the old planets. So this was figured out before Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto were discovered. You know, Uranus was discovered in the 1790s or 80s or something.
So interesting that the Bina is associated with Saturn, not with Venus.
Yes, no, it's yes. Well, it's the Great Mother. It's more like kind of the idea of the Great Mother, or the crone aspect of the feminine. It's the I like to think of it. I don't know if I've ever read this anywhere, but it's sort of this Einsteinian idea of curved space. It's like, here we have the crown is this energy, Kether. Chokmah is the masculine, is this drive, gives that energy force and direction. This masculine idea of boom, like onward. And
Mars,
then,
right?
Hey, no, it's not Mars yet at all. It's not Mars yet at all. No, we're beyond Mars. It's just sort of the idea of force rather than force exercised. And this idea of force goes into number 3, which is the idea of containment or curved space, or this idea that there are limits. It's the idea of Saturn as the idea of limitation. So here we have spiritual energy and force, and the feminine, the yin is the spiritual energy and force, and the yang is this idea of limitation. So without this idea of limitation, there would be no matter. Nothing could be created. But all these 3 are what is called beyond the abyss, beyond nothingness. It's still just concepts. But it's the Lord and the Lady, the yin and the yang, this idea of masculine and feminine. I'm dumping a lot of stuff here, so.
Taking notes.
So, and they are beyond the abyss. And then the energy crosses the abyss and goes to the 4th sphere, which is also on, to look at it, on the right-hand side, the one in the middle. And this is, oh yes, which I should mention in the drawing. So the Kether is white. Chokmah is seen as sort of gray, but kind of, it's a light gray. We'll say it's still near white. And then Binah is black. The Saturn sphere, 3rd sphere, the yin, so yin and yang. Kind of whitish and black. This masculine energy. So when the energy crosses the abyss, it goes into Hesed, what's called, and that's number 4. It is often depicted as blue, and it is the energy of Jupiter. We've called it, it's also called mercy. It's and it's this it's also associated with Jehovah. It's associated with that sort of, Hesed is the old-fashioned idea of the kind of bearded masculine god on the throne, kind of he doesn't know he's got a mother and a father. Those are beyond the abyss. He's full of himself. Sort of the petulant demiurge, demigod, who doesn't know he's just a demigod. He thinks he's king. Thinks he's king. But it's nonetheless, Hesed is Jupiter, and it is the great benefic. It's about this. The energy comes from the goddess up above, beyond the abyss. It comes into this Jupiterian figure of this energy of bestowing, of generosity, of Jupiter energy, of giving, of expansion. So this energy that's created beyond the abyss comes below the abyss. It's working its way into manifestation, and its first manifestation is just of this giving energy, this blessing energy. What it wants to create a world. It wants to create worlds. That's great. Then the lightning flash goes over to finally Mars. The Qabala is called severity. It's associated with the planet Mars. To look at it this way, it's on the left hand. And so from this expansion of Jupiter, it's balanced out by Mars energy, by severity, by limits. Limitation is Binah, above it. But into Mars, below Binah, it's like limitation enforced.
All right.
And so it's from this Jupiter energy of mercy, of blessing. 5 Qabala is called severity. It's about if you look at all the 5s in the tarot, they're sort of about this martial energy of just kind of no. The 5 of Swords is like an argument, or somebody's being mean. The 5 of Wands is like competition and creative energy, kind of that's not focused. 5 of Cups is some cups are spilled because it's kind of too active. 5 of Coins is kind of struggle for finances or practical. So all the 5, these relate to the tarot here too, that all the 5s are this energy of kind of no. But that creates this balance. And then from the 5 on the staring at it left hand path is the center is the heart chakra, then comes up. That's the solar love, the unconditional love of the sun, number 6 in the middle. It's associated with the sun, with this creative energy, but it's also associated with the heart chakra, and it is called Tifereth, or which translates as beauty. And it's about sort of when you get these concepts over the abyss, masculine, feminine, and divine, coming into Jupiter about a blessing, a giving, coming into Mars, which is, wait a minute, there's got to be limits, and into a balance is finally achieved in 6 in the heart. It's associated with things like unconditional love. It's associated with creativity. It's associated with it's the heart chakra. It's in the whole Kabbalah stuff, and in the Golden Dawn, and in all these Hermetics, can pretty well all agree that it's the heart chakra is about where we can connect with our own guardian angel, with these higher energies. That you're not connecting with higher energies with rationality. We're not connecting with higher energies with physical passions. We're connecting the higher energies with the heart. Also in the Golden Dawn and other systems, and even Masonry, it is in the heart. In the Golden Dawn, it's called, the level of consciousness is known as Adeptus Minor. And it is that you have to get into the heart chakra or heart love in order to be able to access the higher self. And so it's really kind of the launching plan, the sort of the goal. I mean, we're this is in modern times. We're not have life expectancy of 45 years old like in the Middle Ages, and we're not, so there's this whole idea that we have evolved to the place where, a lot of people can be in this heart space from time to time, just having a very lucid moment, and kind of a moment of understanding or higher awareness. So, but the idea is to try to be there more. And so we move along. Then after this balance point, then we get into Venus, is the bottom of that right-hand pillar. Venus is 7, is Netzach. It's called Netzach, Netzach, which translates from the Hebrew as victory. So we go from beauty to victory, and Venus, the green one. And here we have this masculine, which is funny, this is the masculine pillar, and that's the feminine pillar. And the bottom of the masculine pillar, we have Venus. And it has to do with these sort of, with personal emotion. I guess that's a good way of saying it, kind of personal, where 6 is kind of unconditional, kind of spiritual love. 7 is personal love, conditional love. What's in it for me, love? And but still, it's a real driving force, right, in human consciousness and in nature. And but it's also interesting that it's at the bottom of this pillar of mercy of the masculine. And then from that, this lightning flash goes to number 8, which is considered to be orange and is associated with the planet Mercury. So we go from passions and desires of Netzach, of Venus, to ideas. It is in Hod, it's called Hod, number 8, Mercury. It's called splendor. And Hod means splendor, and associated with Mercury. So it's the first time we're actually naming things. That this is, when we think about Mercury, it's about communication. It's about words. So if we think, well, words and communication, those specific divisions that allow us to think about things, don't even exist until number 8. We don't even have words. We don't even have words identifying feelings and things until number 8.
But it's manifestation?
Not yet, but it's the beginnings of manifestation. If manifestation starts with, so it's saying what this map is saying is the path to manifestation. Manifestation's on the bottom, number 10. But part of this process of it's saying this is, it's explaining a creative process here. From beyond the abyss comes this energy, which is hopefulness, which is self-criticism, which is peace, which is understanding, which is okay, but now what do I do with that? Where do I want with that? And that's number 7. And how do I identify my goals and my process is number 8, identification, thinking about things. And then, so this is it, 8 is, Mercury is not yet manifestation, but it is working with the ideas of what you want to manifest. So what this is saying is the creative process of manifestation starts beyond our understanding, comes into through this process of that, what are we going to make manifest? Well, we have to have some emotional energy behind it, some passion behind it, and that's Venus. And then we have to kind of figure out pathways or distinctions or process, and that's number 8. Which brings us into number 9, which is the astral, which is associated with the moon. And it is like not quite the bottom of the tree, but it's the one before the bottom, and it's about imagination. It's about dreams at night. It's about kind of creating the astral form in the imagination before it manifests, before we give it manifestation. So So that's
You
called.
just
Sorry.
no, it's really fascinating, but this is the process. So one question I had at the very beginning actually is self-explanatory because I'm now more aware of all the paths work. You know, this is the natural, and it's actually confirmation for me. I'm kind of like, okay, this is where I'm at. Probably, if you can transfer it to our whole life, you know, okay, this is how I find my paths, basically, how I get there. Um, right?
Yes, yes, but not only that, let me just finish this little talk up about the spheres, and then I'll talk more about that. So, Yod, Yesod, Yesod, called the foundation. It's associated when they were doing the middle pillar exercise. That's the crotch chakra, the and the purple chakra in the groin area, and it is about this astral realm where there are things like thought forms, where we can close our eyes and do something in our imagination, or imagine a picture you want to draw or something you want to create, which isn't necessarily, I mean, just art is one slice of it, right? It's everything in life that we have. Our imagination gets active about something we want, or wouldn't it be nice, la la la. And all this stuff is in Yesod, is where things start to take form in the astral, in imagination, in, yeah, that's where things are. It's actually saying this is the world, in a spiritual perspective, this is the world of form, the foundation, but it's not yet material form. It is an astral form. And that birth process of putting something into matter is the last path there going down. It's the 21st tarot card. It's the world or the universe tarot card between 9 and 10. Boom. It's sort of the birth process. Both in a child being born, but also in any idea being born into manifestation.
And this is where this is the very.
Now we're at the bottom, 9 and 10. 9 is Yesod, the groin, the purple, the astral, the foundation. And then to 10, the bottom of it is called Malkuth, Malkuth, Malkuth. That translates as the kingdom, or life as we know it. Sort of 3 dimensions stuck in time. That's what's going on in Malkuth. 3D stuck in time. And we finally get there. Now, but there's so much to do about that. So what I'd like to suggest to you and to other students is to maybe get a few copies of that blank Tree of Life, and that you can mess up with doodles or writing and notes. And then we start to think about, I know there's a number of books where you can get kind of associations for the 6 Sephiroth. They're called Sephiroth here. Or you can just call them the spheres on the tree, Sephiroth. And we can look up associations for things associated with Sephiroth 7 and Netzach. Well, there's going to be Venus. It's going to be other deities that are not, like Aphrodite, or other deities that are about beauty or about emotions. The moon, but we can also think of, well, what's Jupiter? What's chesed things? All these spheres will have associations in human life, in human psychology, in nature, in society. Okay, well, Gevura, well, that's masculine Mars energy. Well, that can have to do with aggression or pursuing desires. There's Mars stuff, cinnamon, like you say, or peppers, cayenne. But it's also associated with things like violence or military or sports where people are competing. It's other types of competition. Well, what are Jupiter things? Well, Jupiter things are um, you're dealing with the difficult part of Jupiter things now, which is bureaucracy, government, but it also associated with wealth and with exchange, and so each of these spheres is associated with the planet. Each of these spheres, well, except for the 1 and 2, because those planets were discovered later. Um, and each of these spheres is, the lower ones, 10, 9, 7, and 8, are a lot to do with our own human psychology. Um, and then I'm just jumping around now a little bit.
No, it's good.
So
Yeah,
we're looking at this, I'm talking over and over, but it's good to remember in magic and in hermetics and Kabbalah, there's different perspective. There's the religious perspective and the magical perspective. So it's I'm not Jewish, never have been, but you might be speaking with a rabbi or something, and a more traditional view is, okay, that's the tree of life, and we are learning how to understand God better through this tree of life. That's nice for you. Nice for you. But for the magician, so they look at that and they go, okay, that's what I'm looking at. That's the Adam Kadmon. That's the spiritual being. That's all these religious connotations. And even in the Christian, you have, oh, well, that's God, and then the sixth is Jesus in the middle. And because the sixth Tiferet, the heart chakra, is very much about what's called, might be termed, quote unquote, Christ consciousness. That this idea that each of us, like JC said, real kingdom of heaven is within. That's where we access it. That there we have this Christ consciousness, sort of to become that we each are a child of God, or goddess, as you like, or both of them. And that is where that individuality is expressed, that spiritual individuality is expressed from number 6. But for the magician or the witch, we turn around and we back into the tree. The tree of life that is depicted in this chart is not something, a tool for worship. We back into it and wear it and become it. And it becomes not a tool for worship, but a tool to become the deity yourself, the conjurer of your own life, as it were.
I have a question about that because there's a saying that life is not linear.
I like that saying.
So does this mean if you try to, everyone's trying to, throw thoughts on the wall right now? If does this mean that this basically it's not step by step? It can jump from 3 to 6, from 6 back to 4, from 4 to 7 in real life. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like when you try. Would you say?
Yes. I agree that life is not linear. I like. I've been doing tarot or readings for people for a number of decades. Since the 80s or late 70s, and when I was doing readings privately, and by the time it was the early 80s, I was doing readings in public, for the public. And sometimes, I mean, a lot of people, like if you get sort of a sense of deja vu, they call it, or some people even, I've talked to a number of people besides myself. I've had a few dreams at night that actually kind of a scene from a dream at night actually happened a few years later or something in my life. And oh my God, well, or I'm doing a reading for someone and I'm giving them a very specific scene, and then they come back and tell me like kind of months later, oh yes, well that's what happened. Or I had this one woman kind of tell me like 20 years later, she looked me up and said, well, that reading finally happened. And I broke my wrist for the second time, like you said. And my husband, I said, well, he wasn't a pilot, but he had a boat shop, so the place was full of propellers. Because I told her, I guess 20 years ago, that you're in this room full of propellers, and turned out to be her husband's store,
Right.
kind of for boats. But anyway,
Right.
so I've really come to the conclusion here that we think we make plans and we think we have a path, but what it's more like is it's like this on the astral realm. It's like there's this web of where things connect. And I think what happens is, and I mean, I also believe in past lives. And so I think what happens is, I don't buy this whole kind of new agey thing about soulmates, because I think that we meet a lot of people in our life that we have a karmic connection with, that we may have had associations with in past lives. And sometimes we make vows or promises and on the other side. And when we're born in this life, we don't remember all that readily. It can be pursued, but we don't remember it easily. But I think what happens is it's not so much we find a path and go on it because we have this goal. It's more like a goal or an event pulls us into it. And it's like we may be living up to vows and things that our higher self wants for us. And I have this funny little meme. I should send you this funny meme. And the funny meme shows a young woman with not that small, like a 8-year-old boy or something, with a older girl with a younger boy, like her brother or something, in this seat at the carnival, like a roller coaster or something. And the young girl has her arm around the boy, and she's all laughing and happy face. Ah! And he has this look of terror on this roller coaster or something, right? And then the caption is, my higher self says that they have a plan for a wonderful life. And then the label on the girl is, my guides are with me. She's the guide. And then the look of terror on the boy is like me living my life. So our guides, I think, oh, you're doing great. It's fine. Don't worry. The whole life is the roller coaster. And our guides are saying, oh, it's fine. Don't worry. It's just this little stuff. And then meanwhile, we are in terror.
Yes. That was the thing. I've been thinking about that since a couple of decades. I know exactly, yes.
So the idea about, is life linear? Not so much.
Oh, no.
But it's good to have a plan. It's just to kind of keep us motivated, to keep us going, to get us up in the morning. I'm working on my plan, and that's great. But is that how it's gonna it's probably not how it's gonna go at all, but but
No,
it keeps us going.
can be even better, or like something grows of it that is even better. Usually, this is how it is usually, and it's you only see it in hindsight, though. You only see it in hindsight
Yes.
because when you go, oh my God,
So
wonderful. Yes,
here, so what I'd like you to
have
do is kind of maybe did you get that? You said you had a couple books.
I have the hold on. Are you still recording?
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. Let